Coming up tonight on YCN News, Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin admits his concern for the state's future. New Hampshire officials establish a hotline to help customers of Fred Fuller home heating oil. And lawmakers of New Hampshire discuss raising minimum wage. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin is worried about the state's future. In his annual State of the State message today, Shumlin told Vermont lawmakers that the rise of drug use by residents and the problems associated with this is cause for alarm. The number of arrests for drug possession and trafficking, especially of heroin, is increasing, state and local police report. Set aside any stereotypes of who is using heroin in Vermont. Arrests of all ages of people have been made since September. Treatment programs must be made available, Shumlin says. Costs of treatment, incarceration, and the image to Vermont's reputation by residents' rising drug use can be in the millions of dollars. Meanwhile, the state also faces a $70 million shortfall now that the federal aid to Vermont is no longer. State spending peaks on education and human service programs. Vermont political leaders will tackle this problem as well, now that the state's legislative season has begun. New Hampshire state officials are helping customers of a private company unable to serve its subscribers. The state established on Tuesday a hotline for customers of Fred Fuller home heating oil. State leaders learned of problems by the Fuller company to supply its customers with heating oil. Governor Maggie Hassan says in a press statement that the state has no jurisdiction in running a private company. Help must be given to citizens affected by this, especially in winter, Hassan says. Given the current cold temperatures and potential health and safety risks to residents, the state will help Fuller customers who are not able to get home heating oil they expected from Fuller. The hotline will work to assist residents who are in imminent danger of running out of home heating oil. The hotline's phone number is 603-227-0002. The Fred Fuller Company has long-reaching New Hampshire roots. Customers depend on it to provide home heating oil and propane. From Hudson to Laconia and towns in between, the customer base is substantial. On its website, a posting tells viewers the company is experiencing telephone problems. It asks that customers keep trying to reach them. Attempts today to reach a company employee at Fred Fuller were not successful. After the break, we'll hear about the discussion amongst New Hampshire lawmakers on raising minimum wage, and we'll hear from Republican candidate Christopher Boothby on the race to fill the Executive Council seat in New Hampshire.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. As New Hampshire lawmakers begin their work, one topic of discussion will be raising the minimum wage. Labor groups working in the state say that wage should climb from the federally mandated $7.25 an hour to $9 an hour. New Hampshire does not have its own state minimum wage and follows the federal rule. State AFL-CIO President Mark McKenzie says several labor-related bills will be introduced this legislative session. Key among these is the minimum wage bill. The Associated Press reports that 3 years ago, when Democrat John Lynch was governor, Lynch vetoed a bill that would have kept the state without a minimum wage act. Republicans in the legislature overrode the veto. Since then, no law exists in the state establishing a minimum wage. States across the country have recently raised their minimum wage, or their respective lawmakers are talking about doing so. YCN News is continuing its coverage of the New Hampshire District 1 race to fill the Executive Council seat held by the late Ray Burton. Today, we hear again from Republican candidate and Lakes Region resident Christopher Boothby.
Joining me is Christopher Boothby, who's running for the primary for the District 1 Executive Council seat. Christopher, thanks for joining me. And I want to continue our conversation. And I want to focus on the economic issues, but maybe it would be helpful to get a little sort of primer from your perspective on what is the Executive Council. It's sort of, it's not the legislature, it's not the Senate, it's not the House, it's not the Senate. What does the Executive Council do, and why is it something the voters ought to care about?
I've got 3.9 billion reasons why the voters should care about the Executive Council, because that's the state budget. And any contract that goes through the governor for the state of New Hampshire over $10,000, which means any contract at all in the state.
There's
of New
not
Hampshire.
too many contracts under 10,000 statewide.
If you're buying pencils or pens, it's over 10,000. It has to go through the governor and council. So we need an executive counselor who has both the business experience to understand that we have wants and needs in this state, and when you're a business owner, you need to look at what's the return on the investment that we're going to be making. And if there is a good return on investment for the people of New Hampshire, for the people of District 1, then yes, you vote for it. If there's not a good return on the investment, you need to remember that that's my money, that's your money, that's our money. And how we spend that money, how we invest those funds, critically important for the future of New Hampshire, critically important for the residents of District 1.
So is that the primary job, is the contracts?
Contracts are a huge part of the job, but equally important is voting for and looking at the qualifications for state department heads. So when you look at Commissioner of Health and Human Services or the Commissioner, any Commissioner, DRED, making sure that those individuals understand the unique dynamics of us in District 1. Again, making sure that they're not just focused on some of those more southern sections of New Hampshire, critically important. The way you do that is you bring them here and you put them in front of local groups and communities, and you allow them to inspect and question and ponder the qualifications of those people. After you get that kind of input, then I can make a decision whether to vote for them or not.
So, and that was sort of the legacy that Ray Burton brought to this, is really getting people to think about District 1, the North Country, because it is so, what's the largest district?
Yes.
And I
Tell me about it.
You've been driving around, I guess. I mean, it must be. Well, I haven't looked at a map recently, but it's got to be about half the state.
It is more than half the state. More than half. Over 130 communities, 4 cities, and I got to tell you, I really enjoyed getting out and meeting people. Ray Burton took this position, and he took it from just the constitutional mandate of contracts, of boards and commissions, and he used it as that bully pulpit, that advocacy, that point where we could take all of the needs and concerns that we have as local individuals, that we have as small communities, and give it a platform. And not just say that, hey, the North Country can be forgotten, but demand that the North Country be recognized, dealt with, and that's something I'm really looking forward to continuing as the next executive counselor.
So along those lines, what are the issues that really face District 1, from Claremont up to the Lakes regions, up to the North Country? Yep. What are the issues that really face District 1 that would be your priorities? Yep. I mean, it's beyond the contract.
Yes, yes. It's the economy, jobs for people, making sure that local economies work. I'm uniquely qualified as a small business owner, as a county commissioner, someone who has worked in economic development most of my professional life, to make sure that we can get these economies running. A good economic and environmental issue as well is Northern Pass. I have heard consistently that this is not good for New Hampshire. I'm strongly opposed to Northern Pass. Just one illustration of an issue which is critical for all of us in the North Country, and that we need to have our voices heard on this issue and economic issues across the state of New Hampshire.
So let me pick up just there's the Northern Pass is one issue. Education, technology, are those issues that we need to address?
Absolutely, and I think that this goes back in many ways to the department heads that run some of these different areas in the state of New Hampshire. So the Department of Education is critically important. You know, I've talked to manufacturers who are still in New Hampshire. I know we've lost a lot overseas, But the folks that are still in New Hampshire, they need highly educated workforce. And in many instances, they have jobs that they can't fill because they don't have the educated workforce. So economic development is not just about money. It's not just about bringing companies here. It is about education. It is about infrastructure, roads, bridges, having the ability to bring our tourists and travel customers to us and our goods and services going to markets, whether they be north to Canada or south to New England. So roads, bridges, infrastructure, another, again, contract for the state of New Hampshire. Critically important that we have an executive counselor that understands economic issues.
All right, I think we're just out of time. You got 15 seconds. What's something you really learned from your travels around the district in 10 seconds?
I learned that District 1 is unique and that we must have a strong executive counselor to reflect our values, our lifestyles, and I know that that's Christopher Boothby.
Christopher, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next 5 days, and he'll take a look at some local college sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tomorrow we're expecting sunny skies with highs in the 20s and a low of 11 degrees. Friday we'll have a high of 33 with lows in the 20s. Saturday, take caution when driving because we're expecting some freezing rain and a rise in temperatures. We'll have highs in the 40s and a low of 32 degrees. Sunday we'll have more showers with a high of 44 degrees and lows in the upper 20s. Monday will be sunny with highs in the 40s and lows around 28 degrees. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, check out the 2014 Upper Valley Wedding Expo at the Fireside Inn and Suites this Sunday in West Lebanon from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And now let's look at New Hampshire college sports. Let's look specifically at New England College's women's basketball team's game yesterday against Green Mountain College. The final score was 77-30, with NEC making a huge victory. In the beginning of the game, NEC made a 12-0 lead. Soon, Green Mountain started to make a comeback, but couldn't surpass the NEC Pilgrims. At the end of the first half, the score was 41-20. NEC's Shantae Pumfret scored a game-high of 12 points. This win brings NEC's record to 6 wins and 4 losses. Congratulations to New England College.
Thank you for joining us for this Wednesday edition of YCN News. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And you can watch our programs anytime online at www.ycnnow.com. Coming up tonight at 7:30 and 10:30, we will be playing the Lebanon-Hanover girls basketball game due to the scheduled game being canceled and moved to February. And be sure to tune in tomorrow to hear from Luann Lewitt, Executive Director of the Claremont Opera House. I'm Rose Spillman for YCN, your local view. Good night.